Okay, so now that I've talked about one part of planning, which is really the external factors that I mentioned, the next part of planning that I want to talk about is more around the internal factors. And this part is just as important as the external factors, if not even more important. And I say that because it's extremely important that you know yourself, you know your personality enough to know what is going to fulfill you next. You may think that just going to another corporate job or another, similar job to what you were doing is going to be better. And it might, that might be the case. It might be that the environment just wasn't good, or that job in that specific company was really shitty and that same job could be better somewhere else. Like, there's all sorts of possibilities. And it doesn't have to be a life-changing move like how mine was. But if you are making a similar move to me, or if you felt similar in the way that I did, it's really important that you do these steps, because if you are trying to make a life-changing move, whereas you're trying to, completely branch out from what you were doing, you know that the world you were in was not making you happy. Just jumping to another job is something, honestly, that I know for myself would not be the right move, because I know what makes me unhappy now. I know what my personality is now. And I've done a lot of different things, which I'll talk about in this step, to really figure that out. And it really depends on what your journey has been up until this point, how much you've gotten to know yourself. Just a little more on my journey. I spent the 5 years, like I said, in college, really just putting all my work. Engineering/computer science is not an easy degree to pursue. So I spent so much time and energy just that was pretty much my life. That's something that I've learned along my journey, the spiritual journey, as far as depression and stuff. It really came from giving my energy to a lot of other things outside of me and not giving enough to me. I look back and I'm like, wow, I never realized that was something that I always hated. Like, engineering was something I was never interested in, but I wanted that outcome of having that job because I knew it made money. I knew that as a female engineer, status was a big thing to me, and that's something I also learned on my journey. But I need to let go of status, and I need to stop getting validated from others. That was something that I had to completely change. I focused way too much on external people's view. I never focused on what made me happy and fueling myself. Now that's really what my journey is going to be about. It's about me. I'm not caring about what other people say. I want to go for my dreams, and that's why I'm so big on my passions and completely changing my life. I'm not gonna go back to another job just because I think it's gonna help me make money. I think when you find what's right for you, the money will come. And I'm truly choosing to believe in that. The main reasons for the internal planning, I would say, is to accomplish these few things. First, you want to make sure that whatever you're going into next is going to be a good fit for you. It's going to be fulfilling for you and something that you like. It may not be the end goal. It may not be oh, this is what I meant to do, but just something that could be the next step and is a part of your journey. It's still right for you and helps you get to whatever that end destination is, whatever is, I believe everyone has a life purpose, whatever your life purpose is. The other thing is that you want to make sure whatever job you're currently in, you are leaving knowing that that job is simply not for you. And I say that because in my mind, I questioned for so long, is it really that this job isn't for me? Or is it just that I wasn't good enough? And if you don't have low self-esteem or a negative mindset, then honestly, this part, it would be a breeze for you. Then you can leave easily knowing that that job is just not for you and you're gonna find something that makes you happier. But for me, that is the hardest thing and the main thing that I had to transform from last year to this year. This was the part of my transformation that has been so profound. I'm a completely different person than who I was. And for so long, I didn't realize, even after achieving all those things that I mentioned so far, I still had really low self-esteem and I still questioned if I was enough. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. I'll talk more about it in this video, but I'm planning to make another video about, specifically about my depression and go more into depth with my journey, because low self-esteem was such a big part of my life for so long, and I've done so much work to change that. So really proud of myself for that. But yeah, I want to help others who may be feeling the same way. If you have any doubt in your mind, and maybe hidden, you might be hiding that thought from yourself, and I think I did for a really long time until my San Jose, everything that happened back there, that was my breaking point, and it had me realize just how much I didn't like myself and how hard I was on myself and all my insecurities, all like everything like that. It goes back to really like looking at yourself, examining yourself, from what's going on in your mind to how you're feeling. All those things are extremely important that a lot of people don't do. It's scary. It's going into your shadow self. If you don't, and you carry those thoughts with you or that mindset into the next thing that you're doing, it can definitely creep up. And that's what kept happening to me throughout my whole journey. It's like, no matter how good or if I got to the next step, it still was like, I didn't feel good enough. And I always felt like an imposter. And I think I truly had something for a long time called imposter syndrome. I think because for so long I was faking it until I make it, or faking it until I made it. And a lot of people say that it works and that eventually you start to feel better. And I think that may be true in some cases when it's something that you truly enjoy, and then you start getting the hang of it. And like, obviously that's emotion of something, doing an action over and over. Of course, you're eventually going to get the hang of things. Things will be easier to you. But if it's something that you've hated for so long and you're trying to fake the feelings that you like it, that part never gets made. And that's what I had to realize as well. But because I was always faking it, and I still had that low self-esteem with it, I just couldn't put two and two together. I kept thinking other people were better than me when they weren't. Like the people in the program, for example, I would always get feedback from, like, positive feedback from managers. And yet when it came to them, it's like they always made me feel so stupid, and they always like in a way put me down. And so I started believing those negative thoughts that I had about myself already. I felt like they too believed what I believed, and maybe they did, but now I would never do what I was doing back there, which was comparing myself, thinking, we all started off in the same program right out of college, and I assumed when they would speak that they were right about their answers. But when I would speak, I didn't know if I was right or wrong. So there could be a question, it's like we both have two different answers. I would assume their answer is right versus mine. It's crazy because it's like we're at the same level. Like, why are you choosing to believe that they are right and you're wrong? Like, that was my mindset. I had completely low self-esteem, and I didn't understand why. That's just a little tidbit, but really it goes back to a quote that I learned actually in that program. If there's anything that I learned in that program, it was this one quote, and it was, if you can't, you must. And that's the thing. It's like, if you feel like you can't do the job, don't leave the job just because you feel like you can't do it. It's all about you questioning yourself and not really having any confidence in yourself. Like, if you know that's a flaw of yours, like how it was for me, then you need to figure that out before you quit. Once you overcome that and you know that you quit the job, like, I can do that job, I'm choosing not to do that job because I don't give a fuck to do that job. That is what I would want you to feel, and that's exactly how I felt leaving. And it feels absolutely amazing. It helps you reclaim your power because, in a sense, you are giving your power away to the job and to that environment, whatever. Like, I don't know how many things you're giving your power to, but ultimately, if you're leaving thinking that you couldn't do the job well, or like that you failed in some sense, that can haunt you, and that would be the last thing that I would want to happen for you. It's really your fear. If you feel like you can't do it or you're not good enough, that underlying emotion is fear and obviously lack of confidence. So that fear needs to be eliminated, and if you feel like you can't, then you must. That's what I kept telling myself. That's why I was like, okay, like, I can't quit with this feeling. I would have actually, or I would have moved to another role, but I kept getting rejected. And so with that, I had to really, like, I was stuck in a way. And because of that, like, yeah, I cried it out. I really did a lot of work on myself in the meantime, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But yeah, that's when I came to terms and was like, I can't leave this feeling like I can't. And I knew, like, there are a lot of things that I could do well. And that's what I was questioning. It's like I knew that I was just being hard on myself because of all the good feedback that I've heard up until this point, from years. Like, from years past, I was hearing that I was good at presentations. I was good at this and that. The two ideas didn't go together. So I really had to fix that. I knew it was something internal at that point. Like, if I've achieved all that I've achieved and gotten the good feedback that I have along the way, there's no way that the bad self-image I have of myself, the failure feeling that I have of myself can be true, because the two things just don't match. Obviously, all these tangible things are concrete evidence. So it's like I knew at that point, like I need to fix my thoughts. Once you've eliminated that fear, or if you never had that fear and you're confident, you know what your skill set's going to be good for in the future, and you have all these options to you, then you can move on to the next step. And that's really knowing what is your personality, what type of work would make you happy. Because all these options, you know, let's say you did feel confident and you didn't have to overcome that fear, then, you know, you're thinking, okay, there's all these options available to me. But truly, if you don't know yourself, then it's possible that you might just jump into one of those and figure out there, like, oh, I didn't like this either. Then the question really becomes, what is going to fulfill you? What, you know, type of work would you like? And really getting to know yourself as much as you can. So the things I did, first I'll talk about what I did, overcoming that fear and low self-esteem, low self-worth, like all of that. That obviously takes a lot longer depending on how low it was for you. And for me, I think it was extremely low. And I don't, you know, childhood things, like some people have even asked me like pretty invasive questions because how insecure I came off to people, and I thought that was just absolutely rude. People in San Jose do that. Do you understand why I didn't like San Jose? But anyways, it doesn't matter what your childhood is like, what the things you've gone through. If you have low self-esteem, you have low self-esteem, and you know it's important to not invalidate others just because their experience hasn't been as traumatic, or you know all that. It doesn't matter. It's all about how you're feeling, and if you're not feeling good with yourself, you're not feeling like you're the best damn thing on earth, because everyone really should feel that in a non-arrogant way. If you're not feeling good about yourself and knowing that you're enough, then you're gonna have to put in work. And it can be as simple as looking up articles, which is one of the things I did, really like how to love yourself, like how to value yourself, how to raise your self-esteem, like articles like that. You know, there's plenty on Google, watching YouTube videos, there's plenty of things that you can look up on that end. And you know, that is like one level, right? Like I would say that's the more shallow surface. And if that's all you need, that's awesome, because then you know that's free resources to you. For me, I've gone to therapy quite a bit. So let's say from my when I broke up with my boyfriend, that's actually no. The first time I ever went to therapy was actually family therapy in 8th grade. And after that, in high school, I also went to therapy for a little bit. After that, I stopped, and then I didn't go back until I had broken up with my boyfriend in college. And that was the first time it was actually meaningful therapy to me. However, that was traditional. It's called psychotherapy. The next therapy that I went to was a hypnotherapist when I was in San Jose. And I've gone to several hypnotherapists, but the first two, I was like, you have to be ready. They say that in order for you to have effective hypnotherapy, you have to be at a place like subconsciously, like you have to accept hypnotherapy or it won't work. And those 2 times, I don't think I was necessarily ready. And it was interesting the way that they did it. Every therapist is different. But then the last 2, so one I went to last year during my depression, that was the first one that it was extremely effective for me. I think it truly helped me transition from like being majorly depressed, feeling like I just didn't want to be alive anymore, and like I can't explain how low I felt vibrationally. And then by December, I was just feeling a lot better. Like I can't explain it. It's just you just know that you go from here to being here. And now 6 months later, I am here. It was expensive, but it was an investment in myself, and I'm here now in this vibration, and I feel like at least 50% of that, if not more, is due to hypnotherapy. And so starting in December, I started going to a different hypnotherapist, and I feel like it's like I keep rising levels, and like new people come into my life for the appropriate level that I'm at. It's honestly like, it's amazing. Once you embark on a spiritual journey or you become spiritually enlightened, things just start flowing to you. It's like everything starts coming into place, and I feel like the right things happen at the right time. And one of those things I believe was that the hypnotherapist I go to now, she's helping me becoming enlightened even more. That's a whole fucking video. Wrapping it back up, the hypnotherapy, any therapy, I think is another thing that you can really do. And if you find the right one for you, you know, there's different levels but really it comes back down to your mindset about yourself. You need to reprogram your brain if all you do is tell yourself negative thoughts, which is literally what I was doing for years. So that's why it took so much work on myself to actually change that. That would be the first and foremost for learning to have confidence in yourself. Once you can do that, then you start looking at, you know, like what it is this job is asking of you. What things are you like willing to put your energy in? Once you're confident about what your skill set is and you know the other things, like one, yeah, I know that's not my skill set, but two, I know that I don't want that skill set. That's never gonna be me. That is when you are good to go, because you know, like, you know, it is what you're good at and you know what you wanna be good at, what you can probably, you know, pursue to be better at in the future. That is the state of mind you wanna be in when quitting your job. The second thing, like I mentioned, is researching what is going to make you happy, what is going to fulfill you, what type of work you would like. If you don't already know that about yourself, or you're like sure about that with yourself, you may have ideas, but if you want to learn more about it, things that I did were looking at Meyer-Briggs personality tests. That is something that was very big. I found out I'm ENFP, and there's so many different articles that I looked at. You can look at tons, and they will be, some will be more specific and some will be, you know, some will coincide. And by the way, these resources are free online. You can find plenty that are free tests. You just go take a test. It's like 10 minutes. But yeah, like this test tells you categories like customer service, you know, and like the performance realm, different types of categories. It'll tell you these lists of jobs that would be good for your personality. And then the funny and ironic thing that I was laughing about is that it also tells you what careers to avoid. And on there for my personality was engineering, and then it said like computer, anything computer related, network engineering. And as a systems engineer, you work a lot with network. So it's like, it just was like, thank God. Like, I'm so glad that that was there, because it, again, just reinforced me that I was right. Like, this work isn't for me. It was full-blown epiphany, learning, you know, it was coming full circle and learning about myself. So yeah, I think Meyer-Briggs is extremely important for learning about your personality type. Actually make you take them in college, and I did take it in college, but I just, again, discarded everything because I was like, nope, my mind is on engineering, getting the money, having the status, like, you know, rich and famous. Like, I don't know what I thought, but I was like, no, this is it. This is what I'm going for. No one's telling me otherwise. And I did pursue it. I made it happen. Like I said, I was always manifesting. So I really have to create another video on that if I don't talk about it in this video. Also, that's something else to look at. Like, what is it that you daydream about? If you're constantly daydreaming about something, like, it's highly probable that there's something there that you actually want to pursue. They say if you daydream it, it's possible. And, you know, sometimes I think that can be extreme, but honestly, like, why wouldn't it be possible? Anything is possible. I really learned that, and I've manifested so much throughout my life that I, like, when I look back, I'm like, dang, like, I'm good at achieving stuff. Like, I know that now, which before I would have never been able to say that. But yeah, if you're daydreaming about something, that is a sign right there. You need to pay attention to your thoughts. What is it that you're dreaming about? What is it that, you know, you really enjoy doing? Those are some of the things that you can just like evaluate on your own. Like, okay, what is it? What did you used to do when you were young? Even if you're not good at it, then finding ways to go, again, if you can't, you must. So like, if you feel like you're not good at, I don't know, cooking, but you like cooking and you really want to be good at cooking, then go do things that will allow you to be better at cooking, like cooking classes, or, you know, like watching videos on it and then doing it yourself, things like that. That is how one way to start pursuing passions, like figuring out what you're passionate about, because I did not know what I was passionate about until 2018. So now I'm like pursuing that, and I kind of feel like I can't, or I'm still scared, but I'm choosing to have the mindset that I can, and I'm gonna go pursue it, which I'll talk about in other videos, but again, not right now. So the last part that I'll mention on this point is, if you are really interested in like life purpose and you believe in that, which I know some people don't necessarily believe that everybody has a life purpose, and if you don't, then this part isn't for you. But if you are, going back to astrology, I told you that it's helped me out like throughout my entire life of figuring out more and more about myself. But I don't know how deep to take it when talking about this, because I don't want it to be too long. But basically, you have to look at the specific part of your chart, which is your north node and your south node. If you don't know about astrology all that much, it really comes down to your entire chart. It's not just about like, oh, I'm a Gemini, you know, your sun sign. That's just like a tiny minuscule part of your astrology chart. There's so much more detail that goes into it. But you can look up on Cafe Astrology your natal chart. It's free. You type in, you have to know the time you were born, like the exact time you were born, and then where you were born, and you can get your natal chart. And so from there, The part that I want to talk about now is the North Node and South Node. So your North Node is what is your purpose in this lifetime. And then your South Node is what you've accumulated from past lifetime. Basically what your life purpose was in the past lifetime, what you did, and then what you also bring into this lifetime. So you're gonna have to switch from your South Node to your North Node. And the reason that you're gonna have to switch is because at some point in your life, you're going to feel unfulfilled. You're going to be unhappy with what you have, which is literally where I was at. So when I read this was already after I had done a bunch of work. This was like this year, earlier this year. I still get chills thinking about the moment just because I was so like, I was in awe because of how much it resonated with me. But basically, yeah, if you're unfulfilled, the reason why is because you are doing what you've been doing in the past lives and you're on this earth for a reason. I truly believe that. And the reason, if you want to find out, is through your North Node. Basically, that is going to be what fulfills you in this lifetime. Mine is perfect with my whole journey, what I've been saying. But the reason I was depressed was because I had everything that I wanted. I had well over 6 figures. I was comfortable, able to afford whatever I wanted, going out whenever I wanted, like have friends, food. I was so comfortable. That is literally what Taurus is about. Taurus is about feeling comfortable. Like they like their routines. They don't like change. They just want everything around them to be steady and like they're happy. And like, that's fine. You know, they like the finer things in life. They like living that rich, luxurious lifestyle. And it also counts, it's really important that you look at what house it falls in. My North Node is in my 4th house. My South Node is in the 10th house. So the houses do change things. It'll be more specific descriptions. Once you find out, you can look up North Node, 4th house, North Node Scorpio, 4th house, South Node Taurus, 10th house, and you'll find different articles on that. For what mine was saying was that having that placement, you were either born into wealth or you worked hard for wealth. But regardless, whichever way, you ended up being wealthy and you made that comfortable lifestyle for yourself. Hello, that's exactly what happened. And I worked my ass off for it, but I ended up getting well over 6 figures and here I am. I ended up getting depressed and I told you I had everything that I thought I wanted, but like, how was I unhappy? And that's when I was like, oh my God, that's why things started changing because now I'm switching to my North Node, which is, if you know anything about Scorpio, Scorpio is all about passion and kind of the darker side of things. They're actually like, think of the phoenix rising from his ashes. It's about death and rebirth. And that's literally what this whole like process is for me. So what's gonna fulfill me in this lifetime is going after my passions and switching from that materialistic success and letting go of, you know, that fame-driven mindset, the status mindset. That's the main thing that I got from reading that description. One article was really profound because it said, whatever I do, if it's linked to my ego in the sense that I want my status to be elevated or I'm trying to show people that I'm living the good life and whatever I choose to do is because I want people to see me in a certain light, it's not going to bring me happiness. That's what it said, period. And I was like, wow. So whatever I choose to do, even though it's pursuing my passions, it's solely for that reason. It has to be because it fuels me. It's what I'm passionate about, not because other people will see me in a certain way. Now I will take that with me wherever I go. Hence why I say astrology is extremely important. So you guys should go look at your North Node and your South Node. If you need help, let me know, leave comments below.